Well, welcome back, everybody, to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Shannick.
And I'm Corey.
And of course, we want to say right off the bat, Merry
Christmas, you filthy animals.
And I didn't even need to say anything because, as you already see, if you're watching the podcast, Corey is in this green Grinch jumpsuit pajamas. So I wanted to make sure to
what's my chest
describe
say?
that in case you're just listening. And it says, always naughty.
Always naughty.
You're an idiot.
What's that movie quote from? You're an idiot. I say it all the time.
I'm pretty sure it's from The Grinch.
Is it? You're an idiot. It is.
Yeah,
It
when
is.
he's in the
Look at
cave.
that. You're an idiot. Merry Christmas. If you're listening on Christmas, kudos to you.
Right. Who's
But if
doing
you're
that?
not, if you're not, and you're checking in, hey, happy belated Christmas. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Belated Christmas. And we hope you have a great new year coming up.
Yeah. We hope your Christmas was amazing. We hope your Christmas is amazing. I can't believe that this is the last episode of 2024. In years prior, we've titled it this. I don't know if this is what happens during the episode, but we say, laugh with us, cry with us, and celebrate 2024. It's really not crying. I think we did that the first year because we were depressed and wanted to quit.
We were.
Which is, if you go
and
back
we did
and
share
listen,
some stories of struggles we went through.
yeah, which
And
one of
it
the
was a little
questions we
tough.
have today is only because we've answered it the last
Every year.
3 years running.
Yeah.
We decided to throw it back in there anyways, but I've got a different answer, I think, than I ever have throughout the year.
Good.
And so, yeah, welcome to episode 206, the last of 2024. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's going to be great. Today, we're going to talk about our wins, our favorite podcast episodes, our favorite sermons or sermon series, and then anything that we're currently struggling with and how we're managing it. But
Yeah, I love that. And before we get to the episode, I'm just curious, you have any favorite Christmas traditions
yeah,
that you do? I know we probably talked about this on years past, but just curious.
I forgot what I've said, but this year I'll actually be in Michigan at my parents' house. We go back and forth every other year. So sometimes it's with my in-laws, sometimes it's with my parents, but I love Christmas morning with my parents. My mom makes this famous French toast, which we look forward to having. We only
Sounds
have it
good.
once a year. It takes her 24 hours to make type thing because you have to like sit in the fridge overnight. It's got a crystallized syrup bottom. It is incredible. It is the most gourmet style of doing French toast because you think what's special about French toast? It is special. Maybe I'll make it for you if you're lucky to ever have me over for brunch, even though I only eat it at Christmas.
I was gonna say on Christmas, that's probably not.
It's
happening.
the only thing. And I'm just really looking forward to Christmas with my kids. My kids are at that ripe age where it's really magical and
Yep.
very fun. And so I'm just really enjoyed Christmas the last years. Last year we went to Legoland on Christmas. That was the surprise gift. And then we drove to Florida. So I'm just enjoying the fact that I don't have to drive anywhere.
Waking up, being with family.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm sure that's what a lot of people's like favorite tradition or favorite thing about Christmas is just spending time with family. But of course, there are those of you maybe that's not so great a time for you. We understand that as well. But I think for me, I just now have my third teenager in the house
Crazy.
as of last week.
Congrats.
And it's lost a little bit of that
Spunk.
like magic
The magic.
of
Magic
Christmas. No, you don't just need to go there.
Mike.
No.
I am going to. I'm always naughty.
Yes, we know that without the reminder from the shirt. But for me, my kids are getting a little older. So I think just those times, because they're like all over, especially my older two that now drive and have relationships and friendships and a girlfriend and all this other stuff. And they're going to different houses and families. And I'm like, oh man, we're not just a single unit here anymore,
You're making me sad.
No, having that time though at Christmas that is geared towards waking up, spending time with one another, being together, just celebrating like the season and family and the blessings that we have. That again, I'm getting older, more sentimental, I guess.
Merry
That's my
Christmas
favorite thing about
and
Christmas.
Happy holidays.
All right, well, let's jump into the episode.
Yeah,
Year in review.
it'll be quick.
We
It'll
are
be
going
quick.
to start with
Wins.
what we think are our wins.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the reason
this
why we're
year.
doing this, and we want you to get in the habit. So I'd really encourage you, whether you're listening to this with your spouse or not, or by yourself, is to write down your wins for the year. or things that you're just grateful for, and get in the habit of doing this. Julie and I started this in 2019. We get together and we celebrate the year, go through our wins, go through our struggles, and we write them down. And it's been most fun to go back over the years and compare the wins and compare the things that we were stressed with and how they all worked out. It's been one of my favorite things, one of my favorite conversations I have with Julia every year. So we've already gone through this. So a lot of the wins that I'm sharing, this is some of our list, but let's just focus real quick on podcast statistics, because I just went over them. Even though it's not quite the end of the year, they're about right. In one of our biggest wins is just the podcast success and putting it on a TV network. It's now officially on GAN, which is crazy to think about, that this podcast is on a TV network that goes out to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. It has that potential, but who knows how many actually watch it. But in 2021, our first year, we had 9,000 total downloads. In 2022, we had 16,000 downloads in just the year, averaging nearly 1,400 downloads a month. In 2023, we had over 25,000 downloads. So you can see the growth, averaged over 2,100 downloads per month. And in 2024, we had over 31,000 downloads in just the year, averaging over 2,500 downloads per month. And we did eclipse over a total of 82,000 downloads in the history of our podcast, which is crazy. That doesn't even include the over 12,000 views on YouTube. And we said it last week, but yeah, Buzzsprout sent us an email saying that we were a top 25% podcast on
of all their podcasts.
Yeah, which is crazy. So thank you. That's you. That doesn't exist without you, the listener, and you watching. We appreciate all the support, likes, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We appreciate it. Seriously, we don't do this without you. But man, I had a couple awesome wins. It was my third time
let's hear about it.
In Europe, where we get to build relationships again with our friends over in the Netherlands, which the last several podcasts we're going through my book, they translated that book in Dutch, which I think that might be like the coolest accomplishment of my life, is having my book translated into another language. We celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary in Italy with you and Reg and our wives. That was a lot of fun. I finished my doctorate, which
big deal.
That's crazy. I can't believe I did that. I also, since November 1st of this year, just a couple months, I became an associate professor of Christian counseling and coaching at Global Grace Seminary. That's a huge honor. I got to write a chapter in the brand new book that just came out December 2nd called Free to Gather, which last year they came out with a book called Free to Give, and they asked me to write the introduction. This year, I guess they liked me good enough to include me as a author of a chapter. So that was a really cool accomplishment. Again, writing a book with 18 other authors. Several of these people are people I look up to. And so to be included in that was a huge honor. Personally, we bought our third rental, which has been a disaster. But so I'm praying and speaking in 2025 that all of our rentals get the best renters ever, and it actually provides profit, which is what I told this was going to be passive income. So far, it has not even come close to passive income. So holla at your boy. We still do, my favorite thing that we've done all time as a staff is our TLP, our individual things, which actually challenged me to write the ZLD course, which I did give my doctorate in, and I provide it now online as an e-course. So if you're interested in going through my e-course, it's a 6-week e-course, promo code, write in Christmas, all caps, 25% off. Clever. You like that? 25 Christmas, 25. Okay, whatever. And then I'm just super grateful for our kids' health. If you know our story, we're still in the thick of a lot of things, but overall, Henry, Scarlett, Zion, they're all healthy. And so we're super grateful for that. So that's just a couple of the wins that I'm willing to share out loud.
Yeah, no, I love that. If I could do anything else with this, I would. No, good job. I love that.
I'm hoping 2025 is going to be an incredible year, but I'm like, Julie and I have talked about this, like 2024 was a year for me. And I don't even want to say it out loud, but I don't see how I can accomplish more in 2025 than what I did in 2024. So
yeah, and that's okay.
It was a year of celebration.
Things that you'll accomplish.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Some of them carry different weight. But at the end of the day, you can celebrate whatever like level of win it may be next year. But some of those were pretty huge, like getting your doctorate, like so huge. Yeah.
Huge.
Not sure if anything next year will top that, but of course we can believe for better. But
huge.
Okay.
Always naughty.
Oh, just because you're wearing the shirt doesn't just give you an excuse. I can
Yes.
do what I want because always naughty.
You're a mean one.
That's exactly what you just sounded like, by the way.
That high pitch.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna fight on
You went
Christmas,
there.
y'all. What are your
All right,
wins? Tell
I'll
the
just
people your
share-
wins.
I'll just share three. Honestly, I had a lot of wins. 2024 was a real incredible year for me
Yeah.
as well, just holistically with family and ministry and personal growth. But what I wrote down, and I'll go ahead and start with this because we referenced it already. The time in the Netherlands was such a huge win for me. Loved that experience. Loved getting invited back for the third time. And then, of course, having our wives come over and just to spend that time together was an absolute win. Like for those 2 weeks, it was amazing. But in the ministry side of it, a huge win was we actually secured 4 properties this year for the Reinitiative. We have finished 2 of them. We've already started on the 3rd house. And if you've been following us on our Hill City page, we've been in a series called Put It on Our Tab. We're talking about generosity, and we've specifically mentioned how we're doing a matching campaign because someone gave a $20,000 donation. And so we're trying to get a matching contributions up to that point in order to do a build out of the church building that came along with that 4th house that we got. And we're really going to turn that into just such an incredible space. So that'll be a huge win for next year. But the fact that we have purchased and secured all 4 of those properties, finished 2 of them out, already got to start on the 3rd one, just such a big win for me in the vision that God gave me to continue going in it and to continue to build upon what has already started. So that's been amazing. Personally, because I've been in this kind of world with contractors and the homes with the Reinitiative, I started to kind of come alive again and start to look for different properties myself. And we had actually bought a property in 2023, but we closed on it January 2024. So I have sold 3 properties, 2 that were flips, 1 that was a complete new build. The first I did in purchase and did that solo with the help of a good friend, Chris, who helped me with all the contracting there. And then the next 2 were in partnership with him.
I just made fun of Chris on camera.
When he gets a compliment.
If he ever watches this part, he can chuckle. I wasn't doing that towards you. I was doing that towards our friend.
I know exactly why you were doing it.
Dude, those are big deals.
So yeah, a pretty
the
incredible
Reinitiative
year.
has been incredible. I believe that 2025 is going to, not necessarily more homes, but I think it's going to be more people involved.
We're still in the establishment of
Yeah.
what it even is and the groundwork of all that. So I really think hopefully 2025 will get all of that solidified so that we can have just an even better foundation to grow
Yeah.
from.
I'm excited about what 2025 might happen, or what will happen with the Reinitiative. It's been an exciting thing. If you want to get involved, did you say re-initiative.com or the powerofre.com?
I haven't yet. Yeah.
Both go to the same website. So the last 2 questions we ask specifically towards the podcast is, what was your favorite podcast episode from 2024?
Well, I'm going to divide it up into
Don't say that, because
favorite-
that's not an actual podcast. I just read your notes. That's
What?
not an actual podcast that we did. That was a sermon series we did in 2023.
No, we actually did.
No, I'm looking at them right here.
What?
That was February of this past year. We never did a sermon series. We never did a podcast on
Oh,
that.
He's looking at my notes and kind of just going to throw me under the bus.
No, I was to help. I was honoring you by saying don't say that, because that's not an actual podcast.
I thought we did the podcast Minefields in February of 2024.
No.
We did the church series in
In
December
Christmas.
2023.
we never came back to doing the navigating minefields.
Oh, okay. I'm staying corrected. So then my favorite podcast, I'll just stick with an episode, was episode 200,
Dude, how can you top it?
celebrating it in the Netherlands. We had a live audience, which I loved, by the way.
It was incredible.
It felt so good to have people in the room while we were recording. We had great questions, great dialogue, and by far, out of all 206 episodes now, my favorite
Yeah.
of all 200, not just this year, of all the ones that we've done.
It was a pretty The fact that you said that means I can't say it because I had it down here as that was my favorite episode. It was so much fun to do it live and to have it recorded there, and then you got to experience a little bit of what we got to experience. But then since you said 200, I'll have to do the whole series because our first episode is our most listened to episode in the history of our podcast, which makes sense because that's the first one. Most people go listen to that one, and it'll define whether or not they listen to any other podcast episodes, which is probably why it's the most listened to. People are like, oh, I love this. Or people are like, these guys suck. Done. What is like next? So episode number 1, the second one most listened to is William Paul Young. The third is Who is the Devil, which is one we did this year. So that whole series, the most listened to podcast series of the year, also top 5 most listened to ever in the history, and we released it this past year. So that is probably my favorite, or the one with C. Baxter Kruger. That was amazing just to have him as a special guest. Yeah. That's a heavy listen to one as well.
Yep.
But I liked those podcast episodes. So what was your favorite sermon series that we did as a church at Hill City for 2024?
Well, since you didn't let me do the series or a single episode on podcast, I'll do it here for sermon series as a whole or favorite message that
either one
was preached at Hill City. No, I'm telling you, I'm going to do both.
Oh.
Because you didn't let me do both the last one. So Unveiled, which was our Easter series, which really was a repeat of the transition series that we did in 2018. Is that when it was? 2019? But we, of course, have grown and have come to new understanding. So this time around, kind of preaching through a lot of that new covenant understanding was just a lot of fun this time. And people, as we were preaching, maybe they had those like wow moments or shock moments when we went through transition. But this time I felt like it was actual aha moments, and people were really just fully getting what we were explaining and how we were presenting it. So that was just a lot of fun. And then my favorite message, honestly, it's not just because it was fresh in my mind, but this past week preaching on
a week ago? A week and a half
put
ago?
It on my tab. I guess it would have been a week and a half ago. Yeah. Because this past Sunday was the Christmas service, but the last Sunday I put it on my tab, week 3, where I got to preach. That was just fun.
Dude, it was so good. And you connected so well with the story of the Reinitiative. If you haven't watched that, or if you don't watch our sermons, go watch that one and get involved with what he shared. It was so good. And you did it without any notes. You were just flowing.
Well, I didn't prepare for it or study for it. And I told you that, and I wasn't lying. Like,
that's why it was one of your best.
Yeah, I know you always say that.
Hey,
I thought about it for about an hour, what I'm going to say, and then I just did it.
I love it. My favorite sermon series was twofold. I've been wanting to do a sermon series for how many years? We did a sermon series
tell me what it is
after Easter called When the Greatest Doubts.
Oh, yeah.
And it has been something we talked for 5, maybe 6 years, and we finally did it. It's not my favorite, but I'm glad that it's finally off my plate of like, this is what I want to do. And then we did it. We talked about John the Baptist.
Because it's been on our board of potential sermon series for like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
But my favorite probably was Chase the Lion, not because of preaching it. I actually did not enjoy preaching it, but what it did for our church and the inspiration. And again, talk about, we did transition several years ago and then came back and did Unveiled, very similar sermon series, but with a different lens. We did Chase the Lion almost the same year we did transition. And then we came back to it, seeing people's lions that they were chasing 5-6 years ago, and seeing the fruition, or people still doing it, or people getting inspired to do new things, was just really cool. And when our staff, actually, that was not something that was on my radar. That got brought up in a planning meeting from other people. They were like, hey, we should go back to this. And I was like, no, we shouldn't. And it ended up being my favorite series of the whole year because of what it did.
Right.
In people.
A lot of people were inspired for sure.
Yeah. I love all our sermon series to a degree. So, but it definitely is from the lens of, do I like preaching this or do I like the response? Because it's not always the same. Sometimes my favorite things to preach, 0 response. My least favorite things to preach, the best response. So that's our world. All right. Last question. Okay. What have you been wrestling with or struggling with this year, 2024? And what has been encouraging you through the process?
So even though the Reinitiative and where we're at has been a huge win for me, right now what I'm struggling with is this process of still in foundation mode. Like, I feel like maybe we could have done more, could have been further down the road. Is that due to my leadership or lack thereof? Is it some decisions that I could have made? Is it a different passion? Is it a different audience that I could be engaging? So right now I'm just sitting in like, man, maybe I didn't do enough. But what's been really helping me, and it's something that we talk about a lot on this podcast, is just the fact that we need to celebrate where we're at and what has been accomplished. So when I look back, yeah, maybe I wish we were a little bit further along or even more prepared for 2025 to do more than what we even did this past year. At the same time, I got to look back and be like, wait a minute, like 3 houses completely finished this year, families in them, the processes, who people or who God brings to be a part of this, and the people that have joined up and linked arms in partnership. Like, the reach has just went beyond my wildest like imagination or expectation this far. And so even though I don't feel like we're where we need to be yet, and so I carry some of that just as a leader, and I don't know why, but again, that's why it's hard for me to celebrate. But this podcast has been teaching me, and what we've been trying to really convey is even celebrate the small victories, the small beginnings, and be okay with where you're at. But then also at the end of the day, like, I'm torn with this because
I'm about
3
to make
is not
fun of
small.
you. I'm about to make fun of you.
3 houses completing is not small either. It is massive when we're thinking about it.
I can't believe that that's what you just said. Here's why. You need to go back and listen to episode 13 that we did. 13. It's called An Imposter Among Us.
Oh, I know.
You know.
It's exactly what I'm writing about.
Right. Our end of the year one-on-one meeting, 2023, your goal for me to keep you accountable when we only had 1 property in the reinitiative was by the end of 2024, you wanted to be managing 3 properties.
Yeah, so 2 more this year.
We have 5. So the fact that your thought was that you didn't do enough blows me away, because we have 2 more than what your expectation was.
Okay, well, let's just dive deep into this a little bit further. Part of the struggle as well, and the reason why I'm a little frustrated, maybe it's not where it needs to be, is the most important thing about what I do is also oversee the ministry here at Hill City. So there's still this huge tension I live in, and I don't want to say I get like sucked back into the weeds and sucked back into the church and always brought back. So I can't be forward moving in it. So I live in that tension all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to be spending more time in the community on the reinitiative. Oh, but wait, I'm lead pastor and I have to make all these decisions and oversee and lead the team here. So there's still the tension that I live in. And that's why I said what I said.
I think that's valid. Dude, I wasn't challenging it. I think it's valid.
I'm not coming back at you any type of way other than maybe an explanation.
No, I get what you said.
Further explanation.
I'm just saying you felt like you didn't do enough, but your leadership here has been phenomenal. You have given more leadership over to us to take care of it. So some of that tension is only in your head, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because you are a great leader and you've done incredible things with the reinitiative. And I can't believe you just said you don't know if you did enough. That's all I wasn't talking about the tension. I get the tension. I live in that tension in different degrees.
But I was expressing the root that led to the tension I'm feeling.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing. I just couldn't believe that just goes there. That was some raw, unrehearsed thought process.
It was.
I think I've listened to things in the past. I'm not so much struggling with things that I used to. Again, go back 3 years ago. You were hearing us wanting to quit, and it's been kind of cool if you've been along on this 4-year journey with us on this podcast to see where we're at now and what we're doing. I think the thing I'm struggling with is finding the time to do the things I've committed to well. The counseling, I'm now counseling more people than I ever have, as well as dealing with all the other responsibilities, and also having some content that I want to produce for church people, but also having some personal dreams that I want to accomplish that I haven't been able to. Now, my work day is shorter than it's ever been, but I get more accomplished than I ever have and still feel like I need to accomplish more. So I live in that tension of, am I providing enough information for people along the process? And am I giving people my best version of me in counseling sessions, and then am I giving my best to my family? Because I've noticed that shift. I was in like 6 months of like, this is the best I've ever felt. And I still feel that. But then I found myself getting back into the route when I'm in home of, I'd rather be doing work. And so be like,
Yeah.
oh, trying to give the best to my kids.
What is the challenge? Because you're in a good season with
Right.
everything you're
Yeah.
producing and a part of. And so it's like, oh, what can I do a little bit more of
Even though I'm
in
doing
that
a
realm?
ton.
Because it's been producing a lot of good fruit.
Oh, you mean to have that attitude towards my family because
Yeah.
of the other stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just trying to enjoy the day to day, because there's moments where I lose it and then I'm beat myself up for not being a present dad. And then Julie and I will have conversations of like, we're both counselors and we both know what we're doing is wrong. And that tension, you're like, dang it. So I think there's going to be tensions that you live in every season of life.
Yeah,
I am,
always.
though, enjoying where we are. I have never been as fulfilled in all aspects of life than I am right now. So I do want to celebrate that and press pause, because I know there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of different things. I am in a good season. I am excited for 2025. I am releasing. I think I bit off more than I can chew. I have 3 done, so I'm good for a couple months. But I will be releasing, my hope, 12 ebooks, a free ebook, 1 a month for the entire year of 2025. I'm hoping to release that on the 5th day of every month. So be on the lookout January 5th. I think the first one is How to Be Successful Without Climbing the Ladder. Again, it's a free ebook or pay whatever you want ebook. I have a children's book coming out with my neighbor Josh at the end of January. Shannick's book's coming out this summer or early fall. Be on the lookout for that. Just a lot of fun stuff in my world. Reinitiative. Get involved if you want to. Thank you for letting us ramble about our wins, about our favorite podcast episodes. Again, we don't do this podcast without you. So if you have a podcast that you love, would you share that to somebody? Share it on your socials. I believe 2025 is going to be a great year. 2 pastors and a mic. Who knows?
Incredible. 2025. So go into this new year knowing for sure that you are loved and there's nothing you can do about it.